we're going to try and avoid as many of the cliches. Having said that, Jay, cliches go. Liverpool are playing 12:30 again. So for those who may be unaware, Liverpool's opening game of the Premier League season is Saturday, August the 17th rather, against Ipswich Town away from home. So, I mean, I wrote before on Twitter, it was that might have been spinning, Jay. The least surprising news of all time is that Liverpool got a 12:30 to start.
Everyone was predicting it. I think over the years when you're predicting fixtures, who you think you're going to get, this was the easiest thing to predict. A newly promoted team at 12:30, dead easy.
Yeah. It's the fifth time in 6 years, Lewis, that Liverpool have played a newly promoted team at the start of the season. The only time they didn't in that run was when they beat West Ham 4-0. Yeah. But they played Watford, they've played Leeds, they've played Norwich twice. Now, of course, we're getting Ipswich as well. Yeah, it's a thing. Liverpool get newly promoted teams. That's just what happens now, I guess.
Yeah, it's a trend. It's not an easy one though. Team coming up who's first time in the Premier in a long time or anything. We saw with Leeds. I think the 4-3 a few years ago. They can really have a go at these teams that come up. So it's, as much as everyone likes to go, oh yeah, it's the trend. It's nice promoted team after 12. It's still solid compared to anyone. I
think I missed Fulham off there. Fulham were part of that list when we drew 2-2 there. I think last year actually they got Chelsea for the first time in a long time, which wasn't, and that was a tough one. To be fair, Jay, let's talk about the start of the season as a whole, because the thing, Liverpool's done well pretty much in those. It's all well and good. Oh, it's tough. They're going to be up for it, but Liverpool actually did well in most of those games against the promoted sides. The draw at Fulham was different, but they've had I can remember them beating, they beat Leeds, they beat Norwich a couple of times. There was a draw against Watford very early on in Klopp's reign as well. But it's one of those where they will be up for it. Ipswich absolutely buzzing to be back. They're a team who plays footy. There is a scenario where I imagine when they come up first game, they're going to stick to their principles. Keane McKenna's going to stick to his principles. They're going to try and play footy. They're going to try and work it. They're going to try and get Putnam Road behind them. But also, if it's just a footy match, Liverpool should beat Ipswich as well.
They should, but I think that goes out the window, doesn't it? And I'd like to see a stat, if anyone in the comments that can do a bit of Googling while we're talking, is how many times promoted teams win on the opening day.
Brentford that beat Arsenal literally 2 years ago. Brentford.
There we go. So we didn't need the Google. But keep Googling. Let me know. Go over the years and let me know. Because, like you just said, mate, they're always up for it, and in the promoted teams. I think the only one you can get away with is West Brom, because they're such a yo-yo club a lot of the times, aren't they? They're up and down. But with Ipswich not being in the league for so long, there's an entire new generation now that are going to experience this, and I mean, they'll be excited. A lot of their fans will be like, well, listen, we're just glad to be back in the big time. We're not really bothered, and they'll be cheering for 90 minutes anyway. But again, you take it on face value, paper, squads and all that rubbish. We should beat them, yeah, we should. But there's so many variables that could go against us.
Absolutely. I've got a little stat here for you. I can check that.
Go ahead.
It missed last year. In 22-23, Bournemouth came up and beat Aston Villa. So that was an opening day win for them. Watford, Aston Villa don't like playing games. Aston Villa beat Watford. Arsenal beat Brentford, like you say. You've had... I'm trying to think of any more. There's not too many. A couple of draws and losses there. So yeah, it's actually... Going back a little bit, it's not too often. There's a couple of options there.
That makes me feel better.
Yeah, which isn't too bad.
I was thinking for the shock value, you know what I mean? Like newly promoted team, and then Liverpool don't win on the opening day, and then the world has crashed.
Absolutely. But I suppose, Lewis, obviously when we get past the whole 12:30 feud and stuff like that, I think if you'd have offered Arne Slot his first 7 games being, Ipswich away, Brentford at home, Man United away, Forest home, Bournemouth home, Wolves away, Palace away, I think he'd have took that. Yeah. I think and we'll touch on it later. What usually happens if you have a run of, say, favourable fixtures, you pay the bill somewhere else, and there'll be a run somewhere down the line of tough periods, and Liverpool do get one of those a little bit later on. But for a new manager trying to implement a style, trying to get settled in, I don't think that's as bad, really. You've got one team there in Man United who are going to be in and around European football. You've got teams who are newly promoted. We're battling relegation a little bit or finish comfortably mid-table. There's nobody there who's an absolute, there's no Chelsea last season. There's no Man City there. Man United are the biggest of those teams. I think he'd have took that if you'd have offered them it.
Yeah, and to be fair, to give credit to the ones like you said, then there's no one who's high level, but Palace away can always be a bit of a tricky one. They've got some really good players in that squad as well. It's a nice balanced start. It's not, like you say, too easy, which we've seen with a lot of managers in the past where they glide through and then as soon as it gets to the tougher tests, it just knocked down a peg. And it's not too exceptionally hard to the point where fans might start maybe getting a little bit on the manager if things just keep going bad and bad and bad. So it's good. Bournemouth, Wolves, Palace, there's a lot of interesting ones, a lot of different, very different styles of play to sort of test Slot's tactical awareness, I think. But it's exciting. And that United game in particular, when we played them in the third game a few seasons ago, obviously, they got the 2-1 win. That seemed to be a sort of Ten Hag suddenly got everyone behind him. If Slot picks up a win in that game early doors, the momentum swings in his favour massively. I
was watching Chloe was on live on YouTube earlier, Jay, and someone made a comment, actually, it's a little bit 22-23 vibes where Liverpool got a relatively comfortable start per se, and they won the games, and then the season goes from there because confidence high, momentum, everything kind of gets going for you, whatever you want to call it, and you can kind of roll through it. It feels like with that fixture list, like I say, there will be a bill to pay later. Liverpool have a tough run at times, but it feels like if Arne Slot gets in, everything's working right, he gets the players he wants, all that kind of stuff, there's a real chance there in those opening 7 or 8 games to really build something there, because they're all games. Man United away is a tough one, like you wouldn't expect to win, but I reckon if you asked all those other games, so Ipswich, Brentford, Forest, Bournemouth, Wolves, Palace, their games, Liverpool would be pretty confident of getting 3 points in. So all of a sudden, Arne Slot, if it goes well, could find himself on a roll. You'd like to think so. And again, not to be Mr. Negativity or pessimistic, I'm just thinking of obviously the way last season went, and hopefully this refreshment of the squad embodies that, where we just go again. And we don't have sort of the hangover from last season. But like you said, mate, it's quite positive in a way because we can put a run together against those teams. I said 22-23 there, that was a horrendous season. I didn't mean 21.
We knew what you meant. I
meant 21-22 where Liverpool got off to a fly. So Liverpool, 22-23 was horrendous. That's 21-22 rather. They beat Norwich, they beat Burnley, they draw at Chelsea, but then they beat Leeds, then they beat Palace, then they beat Norwich. And all of a sudden the season,
absolutely.
They're relatively similar level fixtures, Jay, and that's why it can work out for you. Ultimately, and I will flip over to 22 because 23 now, Lewis, is where it can go wrong a little bit. Yeah. Liverpool started, they drew at Fulham, drew at Palace, lost at Man United third game, then they battered Bournemouth and Newcastle. That was, again, not too dissimilar. It was a newly promoted team, it was a mid-table team, then it was United away. There's 2 examples in 2 seasons there of how it goes right and how it goes wrong. Because I was thinking, if it goes poorly for Slot, and this is hopefully it doesn't, glass half empty kind of stuff, it goes poorly and then you get a big run of fixtures against difficult teams, and then all of a sudden that's the opposite effect where, oh my god, the world's collapsing on us. Yeah, definitely. To be honest, I blanked a lot of those games in my mind. You started reading them out, I was like, that happened, didn't it? He just, like I said before, this is the best start for him where it's a proper test of him, and he needs the momentum. He's going to need the backing of the fans. The best way to do that is just simply get results. If he does start going on a bit of a losing streak like he showed in that second one, then he doesn't have that rapport with the fans yet that Klopp did, where it's like, we'll trust him, we trust the process. He's a new manager coming in. We need to see that we're heading in the right direction. We need to see that things are moving in a progressive state. If he just comes in and the results keep piling on top of him, the pressure starts building, fan bases from other clubs start getting onto him, that's when things can have a detrimental effect. I still think though, Jay, to tie up on the start of the season, 12:30 is a bore. At least it's not after an international break. Liverpool return from the Tour of America, like the last game's the 4th of August, this game is the 17th, so there's 13 days. They'll probably put another friendly in there, maybe the weekend after, a home friendly. They tend to try and do that if they can, if Anfield's is post Taylor Swift ready. But at least, like, again, the 12th, I think Jürgen's gripe about 12:30s, he accepted there were things, and it was more after if you had played Europe in midweek. So you play a game on a Wednesday and then you get 1 day recovery and then you've got to travel down. I think that was his main gripe when it was Klopp. The fact that it is, Liverpool can tailor that week however they want. They can get down to Ipswich whenever they want. They can go whenever they want. That does make it a little bit easier to swallow than obviously in times gone by when Jürgen's moaned about 12:30s. But I think there's a real opportunity there for Liverpool to go beat Ipswich, beat Brentford at home. Again, nothing's ever a given. Go to United, see what you can get, and then really Forest, Bournemouth, Wolves. There's a world there where Liverpool are doing really, really well by the time October comes around.